Well, that ended quick. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Jay.
Hello.
Hey, Aaron. Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. And to anyone else in the chat that would like to join us, just let me know. I will drop you a link to come up. It's the roundtable today for JonBenet's Unsolved Homicide. I guess that's the nice way to say it, right? And we've been talking about this for a month now, right, Jay? And everybody, the murder minion's been dealing with this, going over all the evidence, going over everything that we could, a little bit here and there. So we're just going to talk about it roundtable style. Means you can bring up anything you like and go over things that you want to, but we can also talk about who we think may have done it and why. And I think everybody has like some feelings on it. In our last conversation, everybody was bringing stuff up before we left. So, I think people might have you have a square table, Sandy? I'm sorry. it's just called square table. Just doesn't sound as cool. Like, when I say it, like round table means we keep it going around in the circle, I guess. I don't know. It's something like that. Hey, Shay. Or would you like a link, Shay? You're more than welcome. Anybody else? Charlie, anybody else? Just let me know. You're more than welcome. I'll drop it anytime you want. So, all right. So who wants to start? Don't all jump at once.
I'm trying to think of where to start.
We'll let Jay take it.
Well, I was gonna say let's if Aaron needs a second, let's see what Kim's got.
Okay.
What you got, Kim? You got anything?
I do. I actually came across some more information today on Chris Wolf. He's the reporter. And I know, Jay, that you said that he had been cleared through DNA, but I still can't find anything relating back to that. But what I did find was there was an article regarding several of the suspects, and Chris Wolf is listed in there. We know he's a freelance journalist. He became a suspect, actually, when his girlfriend called the police and said he had stormed out of their house on Christmas night. He came back the following morning, and his clothes were muddy. He became furious when he saw news reports of JonBenet's death on TV. The ransom note was signed SBTC, and Wolf actually had a sweatshirt bearing those initials that stood for the Santa Barbara Tennis Club. He had written an article about John Ramsey's company, Access Graphics, and he may have had access to information about his bonus. And this is where it gets really interesting. He was friends with Bill McReynolds.
The Santa.
Santa. Okay.
And, there's that theory that there's been more than one intruder. And then I also found that Chris Wolf filed suit against the Ramseys. It's a civil action, but he was suing for complaint for intentional infliction of emotional distress by extreme and outrageous conduct. And he actually laid out in his statement how he thought Patsy Ramsey killed her daughter.
Oh. All right. So, that's right. In the whole legal document, right? Like all the...
yes.
He laid out the whole... what he thought the whole plot was, right?
Right. And he wanted $5 million each from Patsy and John for general damages, and then $20 million each from Patsy and John in punitive.
Which is, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And there's also a Reddit. There's a JonBenet Reddit. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Yeah.
There is a JonBenet Reddit, and there is a thread in there, reasons to be suspicious of Chris Wolf. And it actually has portions of a deposition that he gave in May of 2001.
Okay.
I'm trying to look for that. I can't find that list. that I had who they all had the DNA had been cleared from. It was a long list, like 600 and something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, for everybody who's interested, I am dropping the link for the JonBenet Reddit. So there you go. And you know what I could actually for going to that article that you had, Kim, the one that you
Yes.
sent to me. If you want to put that in the Murder Minions room
I
the
will.
JonBenet, and put it in the JonBenet information room that we have, because
I
it's
will,
new.
definitely.
It's definitely something that we didn't have before. That maybe
Yeah,
before
that
the
was
next
the
roundtable
that
they
was
want
the
to look
full
at.
lawsuit.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
I'll
what
put
I'm
that
going
in
to
there.
do, I'll do for those that don't have access or have not joined, I will make sure I put it right now in the link, because you linked me, so I can link. I can make
Yes.
it. Yeah. All right. Mm-hmm.
So that's actually about all I have on Chris Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
For me, he's still a top suspect,
Mm-hmm.
especially now that I learned of his friendship with Mr. McReynolds.
Mm-hmm.
And where did I see something else? Sorry. There was something I saw. See if I can find it. Really?
Mm.
Okay. Bill McReynolds. He had played Santa at their Christmas party 3 days before she was murdered. And that was for the third year in a row. He had been given a tour of the house, so he'd be completely familiar with its complicated geography.
Mm-hmm.
And he had written JonBenet a Christmas card saying that Santa would be giving her a special present after Christmas. It was found in her rubbish. This was the Santa.
Mm-hmm.
It was found in her rubbish bin after her death on the very same day in 1974, which was Boxing Day. McReynolds' 9-year-old daughter had been abducted with a friend, and his daughter had witnessed the SA of her friend. No suspects were ever found in that. In 1976, McReynolds' wife Janet had written a play in which a young girl is molested, tortured, murdered, and left in a basement.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Oh,
she wrote a play?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
In 1976.
Okay.
So JonBenet wasn't even a thought at that point.
No, not even.
But it sounds eerily familiar.
It sure does. Like kind of creepy. It's really creepy.
So I could see the two intruders. And now that I know the link between those two men, I could definitely, they're kind of at the top of my list.
I am not finding, other than that one little thing we talked about with Chris the other day, I'm not finding anything else on him on any of the stuff that we had.
Right.
Which is kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You'd think if they had that much information, it had been put in with all the other stuff we've got, and I can't find him anywhere in none of this stuff.
Yeah, I just Googled Chris Wolf, and then it gave me an option of Chris Wolf, JonBenet, and I clicked that, and that's where I found all of this.
Oh, I see. So I guess it depends on how your search engines work too, because I know that happens to me sometimes. Like all right.
Yeah,
so
because like I said, he briefly came up that one time when I was looking at the suspects.
Well, the first link was the Reddit that I put in there. The second link is the case that Kim is talking about, the actual federal case that he filed, Wolf did against the parents. So, if you want to look into detail there, that'll also be in the Discord. But for those of you that aren't in the Discord, the link is up there if you want to share that information. And hello, Monkey. And hey, Britt. Okay, so if there's anybody else interested, I could drop the link if you want to come up. We're just going to talk about suspects. You could talk about theory tonight, all you like. We've gone over all the evidence. So if there's anything you want to talk about, be free to put questions in there or to just start discussing it however you like. And we'll try to organize it so that we stay with like one person at a time. so that you in the chat can join just as well as we can up there. Okay. So you just have to let me know first what you're doing. Just at me if you can, or just put my name in there or whatever. All right. But on that, okay, that was great, Kim. Like, so
Thank you.
Does that mean you're leaning a little towards Wolf? Does that mean?
I am.
Yep. Because thou protest too much. Is that the theory?
It is, especially when you read his deposition in the Reddit.
Yeah, and so like he's really making a case like, don't look at me, let me just
and he was just very he was very evasive on a lot of the questioning in Reddit. It was almost like, well, no, but maybe I did, but I don't think I did, but I might have. It was that type of thing.
Where they're trying to cover their bases, basically, in case they get caught up later. But
exactly.
It never worked.
Yeah.
It's killing me because there was an actual, and I cannot remember another case where a murder occurred and somebody had written about it previously, very similar circumstances. But it was actually disproven it was not them. And it's killing me because I can't remember. It'll hit me like 5 minutes after we're done tonight.
Yeah, that's okay. And then you know what you do? Then you just go and just like dump it in the Discord in the room.
Dump it in Discord.
Yeah, and then we'll find it.
Were you gonna put the link in the chat for people that wanted to come in?
Yeah, if anybody, nobody has said so yet, but I'll just, you know what I'll go play dangerous. Watch. I know, Aaron. I know, but I can. Aaron, I could see them at the bottom. Like they can't get past me unless I let them. So
yeah,
like I can see. I know what you fear. And the worst they can do is just. The worst that could happen is I'll be peen bombed, and I haven't yet. So.
Well, I was gonna say, and what you can do to help along with it is when they enter the room, check in the chat and say hello. Is this you here? And get double verification on it, so it's not somebody posing as them.
This is true.
Because I was in one where that happened.
Hey, Juju, welcome. We just started. Kim did just lay out a theory about Mr. Wolf, and we put up above 2 links. One is for the Reddit to JonBenet, where she indicated there was a good thread on Chris Wolf, right? That's his first name, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, and Chris Wolf.
And where he did some question and answers in like a deposition type thing. And then also there's a case he filed against the parents. He tried to sue the parents for millions of dollars and laid out how he thought they did it. And so I believe, to put it in a nutshell, Kim's theory is thou protest too much. Like he's putting a lot of deflection on this to get everybody not to look at him. So he's looking very, very suspicious.
Yes, he is.
And I might have to agree. And so, Juju, the link is there if you want to join us. Remind me who Chris Wolf is, please. All right, Kim, just give her like the 2-second drill on who Chris Wolf is. Because
Chris Wolf was a reporter. He was a freelance journalist. He's written for several papers and different media outlets in the Boulder, Colorado area. And I believe now he's actually in another part of the country.
That's it. Randy, how would he be entitled to any money if they killed JonBenet? He was pissed that they were trying to infer it was him. Like he was like, because he got blamed and dragged into the investigation, I guess. Right?
Right.
He's like, how many other people?
That was it. Yeah, but he was the one that decided that you should sue somebody for that, which is like beyond, But anyway, Christola, if you would like to add, like I put the link up there, if you would like to also, or anyone. I mean, not that, I don't want to put pressure on anybody, but feel free. It's casual. It is. We can work it out. Well, yep. Just because he got pulled into the investigation, it was inconvenient for him.
Yeah, in fact, I'm sitting here online right now on the computer looking up even more stuff. And I mean, this guy is like just wild. At one point, he got pulled over by the police and he became verbal and combative with them in a parking lot. And they actually had to restrain him to keep him from kicking and hurting himself or others.
Right. And, Randy says he lived next door. He should expect some questions. And Shay said he's suing because he was defamed. And we all know, like, nobody likes to be defamed. I get it.
That's
like,
true.
This is true. There's definitely a good reason to sue somebody.
But they didn't necessarily.
Wait, I like this one. Yeah, I know. She said it's because his fifis were hit.
That's right.
Wait, where was it? There it is. Like, because his fifis were hurt. You're right. And we all know, don't blame your butt hurt feelings on anybody else but, yourself or your parents who raised you. That's it.
And that's the thing with defamation too. They would have had to make the direct accusation to a paper or something like that. Whereas the police, they've got qualified immunity, so they can make the accusation without it being defamation. They can even talk to a limited degree to the press, and it's not defamation. And you deal with it. I mean, a little girl was killed. Fucking deal with it.
Oh, he worked with children. He worked with children as an outward bound instructor.
And before
he started his journalism career.
Yeah, and you said he knew Santa somehow.
He was friends with Santa.
Okay, so there you go.
Wow.
And Santa was kind of obsessed with her a little bit. Yeah. What do you? Juju said, did anyone ask him his favorite movies? I didn't. It might be in the Reddit. There's probably something like that in the Reddit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found another forum, a community forum that has a lot of stuff on him.
And here Juju is thinking a little different than I am here. She said, I don't know, suing over it makes me less suspicious of him. I think he's a D-bag grasping for cash. Oh, wait, he lived next door. Suspicions are back. Oh, she came full circle. Okay. I didn't read the whole thing. Okay, so you came first say he did live next door. So he had to have like, yep. So, yep, there's that. There's definitely that. So let's see.
He did refuse to give up a handwriting sample also.
Yep.
Then again, he was being indignant, so I'm not surprised he's using
of course.
I mean,
that doesn't surprise me either.
Charlie, you already have a cool avatar. You don't have to be a cartoon to come up. It's cool. That's all right. But, play away if you need to.
He just want to be like me.
I know. But Charlie, you're fine just the way you are, dude. It's all right. Anyway, there was a real glimpse into my thought process. I do that all the time, Juju. Like mid-sentence, I'm changing, direction. I get it. You got to go with the information, right?
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing's up and down. I didn't catch everything, and I had to do crash course research. There are so many suspects, so much information. It's overwhelming.
It is.
They made a mess of it.
They did. Well, yeah, that's the thing. And does anybody else want to go? Like, I do have a theory about why the DNA is compromised. If anybody.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a little uncomfortable, so I do want to put out a trigger warning first, because we have to talk about where the DA was kind of found and why the DA might be compromised because of it, and because of the implementation that was used. So I just want to put a trigger out. It's the only time we're actually going to talk, and I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'll have to mention a few things just so you get what I'm talking about. They do all agree that there was some type of assault on JonBenet, in that it was not physical, it was by a foreign object, and the foreign object happened to be a paintbrush, and the paintbrush happened to be broken. And in the cart where they had all of the paintbrushes, I noticed they also had the chemicals. Jay, did you notice? They also had the cleaning chemicals for paintbrushes. So my weak theory, and I agree it's weak, is that if the chemicals were on the handles of the paintbrushes, because they were wooden and porous back then, they are not plastic, they're not the type that are sealed over or anything. We're talking the old-fashioned wooden porous paintbrushes. That's what's in that caddy from the picture that I saw, or at least that's what it looks like to me. Okay, that they are the wooden type that are porous, not shellacked or lacquered over, which means they could hold the chemicals in them. So if that's what was used, it mixed with the DNA and destroyed it enough to not be identifiable. So that is why we're not able to match it to anybody, because we haven't been able to match it to a single victim.
There is
familiar
a
or
problem
not.
with that theory.
Okay.
Because there was also DNA found under her fingernails and in the garrote.
It's true.
So I mean,
No.
I would agree with you on the DNA sample coming from the underwear and the long johns, but that doesn't account for the DNA samples they got from under the fingernails and in the garrote and on her arm too.
Oh, they got some on her arm too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And then the thing you would need to identify was the chemical, because I'm looking it up. So acetone is used for latex based. That actually can be used to extract and preserve DNA, but thinner could damage it.
That's what I was thinking, a thinner. Yeah, a thinner of some
and
type.
then
Yeah.
mineral spirits, the other type, can do it too. But yeah, if it's been found elsewhere, it shouldn't be affected by that.
Nope. So that's why we do these, so that you guys can help me think out loud about it. Because, like I said, it's weak, but it just occurred to me that we hadn't discussed those chemicals that were quite obviously there in the tray with the broken handles and everything that we had saw before. And that's cool, Christola. I get it. It's cool.
And I have looked, and as far as I can tell, and if you guys know anything different than that, from what I understand, all the DNA samples come from a single person.
Yep.
But I haven't seen anything contrary. So if anybody else knows if it was more than one, I can't seem to find it. All I get is different samples. That's all it says. It's not saying if it's from multiple or. So I think it's just the one. Because I think if it was multiple from multiple people, they just said it was from multiple people.
Yeah. Okay. But on that theory, I still do think that the electrician was involved. I think that the electrician, yes, absolutely. You know why? And I have one more piece to add to what I had said before. It is not only because of how they found his body, with a cap with the initials on it, with a taser, with shoes that match the footprints and everything. He seemed to be involved in some way. If he did not actually do the assault, he was at least there and witness to it, or part of this process, maybe the kidnapping of her, that they did intend to get back at John Ramsey by kidnapping his daughter, and then one of the members of the team, of the kidnap team, took things a little too far with the child because they couldn't resist. That is a theory I'm sticking with, although I do not know exactly who the offender is. I don't think the offender of the assault is the electrician. I just think he knows about it and he couldn't deal with it. And one of the other pieces of information I have to give Aaron some good credit for here, because remember we were talking about the garrote and the knots that were used to make the garrote and everything. It just so happens that Prusik that Aaron showed us how it's made, which was, it's not a normal looking knot. Like, it's not something you would actually see all over the place.
Yeah.
But electricians use it all the time, Jay. Yeah. That's a Prusik knot, is an electrician's knot, and they use it. And when we saw that, it just added to it for me anyway, because there's just too much evidence. Whether you would consider it circumstantial, I don't really consider footprints circumstantial when you have the same kind of shoes, when nobody else in the whole group of people that we have looked at has those shoe prints. Nobody else had a taser. Nobody else, knows the Prusik knots. Nobody else had a hat with those initials on it, and nobody else had the guilt enough to commit suicide based on all of this. So I'm thinking he's involved, although I'm not willing to say he's the assault offender. I think he was involved in the kidnapping and it went bad, like real bad. And I think he's the guilt there. But I do believe there's at least one other person involved, and I think. It might have been Santa Claus. He was way too obsessed with her, like in a weird kind of way.
He was.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw that Wolf's girlfriend gave him a pair of hiking boots.
Did they match the prints?
It doesn't say. Oh, let's see.
where the
No.
boot print.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to
Wolf's
say, if
boots.
they're work
It says
boots,
Wolf's boots were Danners, and these were high techs that the boot
Okay.
print was. Okay,
Okay.
never mind.
All right. But hey, boots are boots. I mean, like I said, there could be more than one. Remember, the FBI thought there were 3 at one time. And did
Right.
they know? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what Shay is talking about.
Mm-hmm. That there were 3, right? I know the FBI was saying 3, right, Shay? And I'm willing to admit at least 2 because I know the assault would need to be done by somebody who was very focused on something like that, and maybe the others weren't. And I do think the electrician was involved. So I'm really curious to see, Shay, because I know you guys were working on this, you and Juju.
Yeah,
And Juju thinks that one of them was a woman. Okay, so
talking about the knots, like I've been chasing those things left and right, and that Prusik, that's heavily indicative of being the electrician because what they do is basically if they have to pull wires to tension, especially heavy wires, they use it to attach that to a winch, or there's also a crank winch they can use, pull it tight. But there are people all over this case that would have knowledge of various knots. Her dad, he was a Navy civil engineer in a CB. CB is originally stood for Construction Battalion. They changed it to CB. You've got, you just said the journalist, if he was involved in Outward Bound, they use knots left and right, and very specifically. So her wrist, one of them was a cow hitch. If you take and you make a 2-piece rope bridge where you've got 2 ropes horizontally above one another, one of them is for hands, one of them's for feet, and then you attach ropes between them because you don't want too much stretch. You want to stabilize them. A lot of times you're using cow hitch knots at the top and bottom. You could use a Prusik, but it's really not called for that. But it's not to say he wouldn't know that. I mean, it could be used that way. And then one that caught my attention too, and I don't, like I said, I haven't been here the whole time, but Brian Scott, the landscaper, he caught my attention because during his interview, it started out, or the way he discusses her, and he does it in books too, is it's this almost like pure joy description of her. Anybody else that talks about her, it'll be a mix of happier emotions, but you can see that there's regret there. There's, they miss her. It's sad. They know what happened, but that is absolutely lacking from his presentation. And I tend to go by my instincts when I see
Are you talking
somebody
about
in
Gary
person.
Oliva?
No, it's Brian Scott.
the landscaper, Brian Scott, right?
Yeah. And he's got a partial alibi, but his alibi ends at midnight. I tried to find information on what kind of access he might have because, because I know they said that he worked on the sprinkler units. They've been in the house. I did not see any storage shed, so anything that they kept on hand was very likely kept in the garage. So I tried to see maybe if he had access to that, and I couldn't find very much on it. But he would have knowledge of various knots because just gardening for hanging up plants, for holding them from falling, tying grid work, suspending branches, like the press you might, if you had to say you had a tree that had a branch that was slowly, draping and you wanted to suspend it until it strengthened, Prusik is what you would use. It's strong enough to suspend it upward and hold it in place long term until it gets stronger. But and then when he talks about the brother he does not have that sentimental regard at all. So it seemed like there's almost, like you said, we're talking about earlier, that odd fascination with him. So he's one I wish they had taken a closer look at, because beyond just the way he comports himself when he talks about it, he had knowledge, possibly had access to execute this stuff. And then they talk about the footprints too. You would have to have somebody else, and it was snowy out. It was only partially snowy day. There were ways to evade it. Yeah, it didn't snow that day at all. I looked up the weather reports, 0 precipitation on 25th, 6th. No, there's not much snow melt, but there are gaps in snow all over the yard.
This is a good one. Yeah.
Are you talking about Shay says, I feel like the neighbor and his wife wrote the note and the gentleman that rented from them did the actual attack.
And he was the weird one, right? That's a.
I'm trying
Now,
to remember
the neighbor, is that Chris Wolf? He was the neighbor. No, but he wasn't married, was he, Kim? Is Chris Wolf married?
It just says girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe neighbor.
All right.
Everything I've seen. Yeah, everything I've seen. Now, I did find more on the connection just now between McReynolds and Chris Wolf. Wolf was actually a student of McReynolds, and McReynolds taught journalism at the University of Colorado, or Colorado University. So that's how they got to know each other. Yeah, that was Santa.
But like Erin said, that one person had such an eerie affect when they talked about JonBenet.
Yeah,
so did Reynolds. So Reynolds was just like giddy about that girl. Like, like they said, he took the glitter thing to the hospital with him when he had the heart surgery.
That was weird.
You know, and all of this, and it had to be buried with him or something from his wife. Now he was married. You know, I think they should have did more interview with his wife about his weird tendencies towards his child, but
yeah, guessing he never had kids.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe.
It's hard to tell.
No,
a lot of times you can tell by how
McReynolds did have children.
Did he?
Yeah, because
that's an odd one.
There was 1974 on Boxing Day. McReynolds' 9-year-old daughter, which Boxing Day is the 26th of December. So McReynolds' 9-year-old daughter had been abducted with a friend, and the daughter had witnessed the SA of her friend, and no suspects were ever found.
Yeah. No, I understand, Sandy. That's the hard part, that there's no closure. You know, even when you're looking at it like this, it is quite distressing to look over everything and not have a clear picture on any. I don't know about you guys, but any single suspect that I look at, there is just not a clear line anywhere. There's no definitive anything about anything. And it's mostly because of how the case was documented. It's mostly about all the complaints about the evidence that we actually have, how incomplete or how tainted, or we can't trust it. So it makes it difficult, you know.
Well,
the DNA one, go on. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's hard to know what to make of this wall of silence the parents created too, because on the one hand, it could be evidence point straight at them, and then on the other, I've worked for someone that they had money, and then over time their family had kind of diminished, and now they were more of the managerial over a store because they originally owned warehouses that sold this product, and then had been reduced to a store, and that there is an odd attitude of separation between people who have money and people don't, and in a small town like this, it's going to be even worse. So they could have been, they could have been hiding something, but they could have also been doing just PR and control to keep it from damaging the business and blowing it back. And that may have been their decision as to the best thing to do. It's hard to know without, somebody coming forward admitting why the hell that decision.
I did find the name of the drift, the ones that Shay's talking about. His name was Glenn Meyer. He lived across the street with Joe and Betty Barnhill.
Yeah, he crashed the Christmas party looking for the neighbor.
Yeah.
She said. Okay. All right. So we got that. Okay. And so Juju says she feels like she is actually working on a theory right now. She's formulating a new theory right now. And she truly feels like the answer is right in front of us, but we can't see it. And that's how kind of like I'm looking at it too, like something so obvious, like the chemicals for the paintbrushes and stuff like that. But not everything fits everywhere. Like if you get one small part of it kind of resolved in your mind, and then everything else just doesn't fit anyway. It's hard to find something that fits all of it, But I do still think the electrician is involved. He had just enough knowledge of the house, just enough of a contrary relationship with John Ramsey, to be able to be used against him, as you know, because they didn't like him too much, or he was resentful of his position.
And they've got the theories that point to the sun. I watched that crap, very frankly, documentary about him, the one that was supposedly groundbreaking and everything. Everything on that was backwards. But
yeah,
the one thing I want to have out on that, and this seems small but is important, is they keep talking about the flashlight, that 3 mag light flashlight. If you've ever handled one, the way they illustrate it being used is gripping the very rear of it and then swinging the lens end of it. If you ever handle one, that is the least intuitive way to do it. Plus, if it's a young person, they're going to be picking it up at a lower point. If it's lens down, they're going to grab it at the lower point. If you ever watch how somebody who has any experience with it carries it, they don't even have to be a police officer. They just have had to handle one long enough to kind of get the feel of it. They grip it near the lens, whether they're gripping it with the like an underhand position, or if they grip it almost like a baseball bat over their head and hold it that way. It is uncomfortable to grip from the other end because the weight's on the opposite side. So this whole theory about gripping it by the end and swinging it like that, I find it to be a ridiculous push. The baseball bat is more likely than the flashlight.
With the flashlight too, those big mag flashlights, truckers use them to check their tires, and what they'll do is they'll flip them over and they'll hold it by the lens and hit it with the back end of the mag light, because that's the heaviest part, and that's what they use to bounce to check their tires with.
Yep. Back when they when police use them standard, now they use smaller flashlights just because they're trying to keep the weight down.
Yeah.
They would hold it like a bat, and they would hold it over their shoulder, almost like a bazooka position is the best way I can describe it. Like with and essentially I should call that the underhand hold, till it shine in people's faces, and they could also swing it like a baton if they needed to defend themselves. And once you handle one, that's actually the far more comfortable way to hold it, and you will realize that quickly. So
yeah, them are big ass, and they're heavy too,
and they're hard to clean out. They, the whole thing about skin elasticity, I don't see there not at least being skin cells. There are skin cells under the hair. It doesn't matter if you have really bad dandruff or not. You have loose skin cells.
Yeah, and those most of the mag lights usually have like a coarse grip on them.
Mm-hmm.
They got the crisscross pattern all the way around, for extra grip and stuff.
Yep.
Plus, I would have to, my guess, I wouldn't say flashlight. I would have to go with the baseball bat myself.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it could have been either or, but I would probably I would lean more towards the bat instead of the flashlight.
Yeah.
Oh, and then too, those are incandescent bulbs that break easily.
Yeah, yeah. Even the halogen ones that had the halogen ones, the wrong kind of a shock, and them things are toast.
Yep.
So part of the conversation here was Juju saying she supported the parents' wall of silence only because I support not talking to the police at all without an attorney, although their first interview also should have been that day, which I think a lot of people do. So maybe I don't fully support the wall of silence. And then Aaron backs her up and says, of course, you should never talk to the police without a lawyer, but it definitely should have been done within the first day or two.
Within 48 hours.
And then Juju says something about a teenage boy or something, someone who was right there, but also easy to look past because you would not. Yeah, you know what? That actually makes sense.
There's even the Fringe case too with the son where, because he'd hit her with the golf club. That's that much we know. That this happens. They find the girl dead. The son says, no, I didn't do it. He's got a known psychological history and violence, and then someone else has done it, and they cover it up because they make the assumption it's their son. It seems very far out there, but it absolutely matches the profile of what parents with money and influence would do if they had a kid who had a mental disorder to such a degree that they couldn't believe anything he said, and they knew him to be violent.
Just the only I agree with your assessment there, but my issue with that though is Burke. There's no way he could have swung with enough force to create the damage that was caused. We know that he would have to over 350 pounds of pressure on that hit, and someone his size is not going to be able to generate that much force. To break the skull the way it was broken. That's one of the reasons I can't lean on the Burke theory personally.
Well, was it 350 pounds of force? Well, it was a 350-pound person is what it was. They said it would drop a 350-pound person, which realistically, it doesn't matter how big you are once you reach adulthood. You're talking about what it would take to break a skull. So how much pressure would that take?
Another thing Juju says is, except when they went upstairs and got her out of bed, so that makes me lean towards the flashlight. Me too, portable. Although I think everybody thinks about the bat because it was outside. Well, there was a boy in the house, and bats are outside. Yeah, it is. Shay says, I think 2 weeks prior, Burke hit her with the golf club, and it wasn't on purpose. That is true, and they're trying to make that into a big thing. When you think about it, that is something that can happen between brothers and sisters and kids and stuff like that. And there was a lot of regret there, and that didn't seem to be like the type of thing that everybody was upset about when it happened. But in hindsight, when after something terrible like the murder happens, then you're looking at it like it's a whole different thing. So, what? I don't know. Sandy says,
yeah, there's no way the kid could have done it.
Yeah, I don't think I really eliminate Burke. I'm with you, Aaron, on that. But let me just read Sandy, and then you can continue. I don't believe that, Jay, you could easily crush a skull with a mag light, no matter how young or small.
For a juvenile, like someone her age, you got to remember that her skull is more fragile, and then the point along which it broke also is not fully healed, because your skull solidifies as you get older along that point. So that would still, it would not still be as flexible as it was when she was younger, but it would not be as thick and as strong as it was once she would have grown up. So it's about the average human can generate 150 psi with a punch. I mean, you might get around that with a kid swinging it, and it looks like it requires damn near 500 to crush a skull. So
yeah, but I remember this figure from before that Shay actually looked it up. It takes 8 pounds of pressure to fracture a bone. That would
it's 8 pounds for a kneecap.
Yeah. So
like the kneecap's 8 pounds.
For okay, so it's more than that.
Yeah, because it depends on it depends on the bone, the density and everything of the bone.
The spherical nature of a skull makes it harder to fracture. It kind of self-reinforces the way it's built. But like I said, with a juvenile whose skull is not yet fully healed, it's going to take less. I don't see an adult having the trouble, even say a lower strength adult. I don't see them having trouble, especially because they're coming from above. They've got more leverage. But a kid, I don't think they're going to muster enough to crack a skull that badly, even on an adult.
Right.
Plus, like we said, there are issues with how that would have been held.
Wait. She's still in green stick fracture phase. That's much weaker pressure than regular skull. Like, maybe it is a lot less. You think? I mean, I'm just asking.
It is, but I don't know how much less is the question.
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to look up. I'm having a hard time trying.
That's what I'm trying to find it too, Jay.
You know what it is? I don't know the exact pressure, but common sense would tell you if the skull can expand still at that age, at green stick fracture stage, that it does have to be much less. It'd have to be a hell of a lot less. You're right, because it's still moving and growing. I'm thinking it would be perhaps just a little bit harder than the kneecap. I mean, kneecap's solid, and the skull wouldn't be at that stage.
A kneecap's a weak point, though, because there's cartilage behind it. There's a flex zone. When it hits, the bone can bend to fracture. But, the skull is going to be significantly weaker. And I have some problems too, though. They showed the kid the way he did on that documentary as a full-blown, full extension hit. If he were casually hitting her, and even if he did it with force, he wouldn't do a full-length swing down on her. I think he would have to have full intent to injure her in order to do that.
True.
I don't know. I'm spending too much time trying to figure this out.
I know, and I'm trying to catch. I'm trying to catch the rest of the comments that are relative, to the discussion. Y'all have said the so-called DNA samples ruled them out, right? She said. Sandy said. First of all, I'm also not saying her brother did it. I have no clue who did, and you all have said that the so-called DNA samples have ruled them out. They did. They say that they ruled. Like, here's the thing. They say on the one hand that the DNA samples have ruled the whole family out. But then there's lots of talk about the DNA samples being compromised and not being good enough and all this other stuff too. So, like, how do you eliminate people by DNA and then on one hand say the DNA is not good enough? Like,
well, my thought on the DNA sample though is it's got to be, they've got to have enough points in the DNA sample that they actually send it out to the genealogy sites. So that means they've got enough. They got enough of the DNA sample to create a DNA profile.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to send it out. In my opinion, I mean, like I said, I'm not nowhere near a DNA expert at all. But it seems to me if they only had a compromised or even an extreme, a partial, they wouldn't be trying to send it out, because if you got a partial DNA, there's no way you could probably get 50,000 people with the same partial DNA strand. So it would seem to me that they've got a full DNA profile if they're sending it to the genealogy sites like they last year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Jay.
I'm trying to find.
Yes.
Do you remember what type of a skull fracture she had?
We could find out. I got
it was 8.5. I can't remember right offhand.
Hold on. I've got the stream up here. I can just pull up SearchGirl and pull up the autopsy if you want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
8.5-inch fracture ran the length of the right side of her head. Jeez, that's bruises, and then a deep ligature furrow encircled. Oh, that's for her neck.
That's going to be under head injuries, right, Jay?
Yeah. Encompasses an area measuring 7 by 4 inches long. Fresh hemorrhage with no evidence of organization. The superior extension of the area of hemorrhage is linear to the comminuted skull fractures, but extend from the right occipital. Blah 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 blah. The postoparietal area of the fracture is roughly a rectangular shape, displaced fragment of skull 1 3/4 by 1.5 inch.
Okay, so it sounds like we may have a combination of a skull fracture. It sounds like there's a linear, a depressed, and a diastatic.
Yeah, it says the hemorrhage and the fracture extend posteriorly just past the midline of the occipital area of the skull.
It's listed when you look at a further description, a linear comminuted fracture of the right side of the skull. Contusions on the right cerebral hemisphere.
Yeah, so if it's a comminuted, then it'd be a combination then. And I was asking because I'm in the National Center for Biotechnology Information under the National Library of Medicine website, trying to see if I can find pressure, the pounds of pressure.
So while you're looking at that, I know I talked about it on the last episode of my thoughts. I don't know how many of you guys caught what I had said on the last episode, but I'll go over it again. Hang on. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. My thoughts though is I I mean, I've got a couple of people I'm really looking good at. One was Gary Olivier and Helgath. Those two stick out for me. My only issue is I think there's at best circumstantial evidence and you know and all of this, it's all circumstantial until we get conclusive. But I think the person who did this, I think it was one person, and I think this person had done this before. Everything about this does not seem to me like a one and done type of thing or a cover up type of thing. I think this is somebody who has escalated to this point. And for me, that's, I come across this because of the extensive knowledge I've done on serial killers and watched the way they will escalate. And it's not that far off from serial rapists and child molesters and whatnot like that. They will escalate also. And I think this was an escalation, as it keeps going on. But I don't think the person who did it is still alive. Because if he was still alive, then we would have seen more cases kind of like this. Not necessarily the exact same thing, but there would have been more of a after the fact, especially now, all these years later, that it would have been we would have seen something. But it's also could have been a drifter too. Because there are, that's why we're not making the connections, because it's over, he's doing these in long periods, or could have been long distance time frames or long distances themselves. So that's kind of my thought on it. I do, and I want to say that I really do believe it was a Santa. Now, not saying the older Santa, but I mean they've through so many different. That's why I have a problem with trying to figure this out, because my suspect pool is too. I can't seem to narrow it down, because I think there was a Santa involved. I think it was the one I just described, and I think it was the two other suspects. So I can't seem to narrow it down personally.
I don't know. I also thought it was like a transient kind of person at one point, but from to get inside the house.
Specific series of events here, like on how they executed this. This isn't. They try to say, some people try to portray it as being hard to figure out what happened, but it's not when you think about how it would have gone. If she had been tasered without her mouth being covered, I do believe she would have screamed or made a sound. So her mouth was duct taped first. The taser was probably applied after that. They didn't apply it repeatedly, but it looks like they dug in with it and hit her with it hard. That's terrible to describe, but given the wounds, the fact that they dug deep but didn't bleed, which indicates a little bit of an electrocautery effect on that. And then after that, they've tried to say, some people say the fracture occurred first, and it didn't. There's evidence that it was fairly close to death. So the garrote was applied, pressure was applied with that, and the skull fracture was the final thing. And this does not have anything, to me personally, indicating a botched kidnapping, because nothing beyond that taser is indicative of a kidnapping.
Right, but the markings on the body with the taser, like there are markings that are, that appear to be the taser markings, and they did identify the taser. So,
yeah,
I'm kind of agreeing with you towards the.
Yeah, I absolutely no way believe it was a botched kidnapping.
Yeah, and Marking brings up a really good point that I wanted to bring up. That just 2 days ago, I read another article about Mr. Ramsey, about John Ramsey actually fighting to get even more extensive DNA testing done. Now, he did get it released into the databanks and everything like that. He wants more money spent on the more complex testing that can be done, and bigger testing and broader on what samples they have before they're really not good enough to do anything with whatever they have. And for all of the people that they interviewed before that are still alive or familial or anything they can get. So it also means to me that like he wouldn't be doing that if he could be complicit in any way, or if he thought anyone in his family was complicit with it in any way. This man is still pushing very, very hard to find out who it is. He's pushing politically, trying to get people to get involved, to get more testing done on this, to get the budget moved, to get more money put towards it, because he does believe the DNA is going to answer. It's the only thing they have left, really, to go over that they still have, you know.
And I'm wondering how effective they're going to be based on the aging of the DNA, because I know at a point you have to switch from standard DNA testing to ribosomal DNA testing, which is less accurate.
Yeah. Right. And we also, and we have better technology now, but we're still dealing with a specimen that was collected the old way. You know what I mean? And
Sandy's been saying from the start, though, is how, and Claire, you've mentioned it too, is did they even collect a good sample enough where they can test it multiple times?
Exactly. Do they have enough?
Right.
Do they have enough? And as Marking said, that is if the perp isn't dead by now. They could be dead, but if they're in the database, maybe their DNA would match enough for us to at least get a suspect down to, have some closure,
Depending on the results of the DNA test too, how accurate they are, they can actually take relatives in their nearby chain and make cross comparisons. So even if they're not in the system, they can use your relatives to determine how close it is to your DNA.
That's how they found the golden, the Green River Killer, Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I always get them two mixed up when trying to remember which one it was. But yeah, it was one of those two. So I do want to make a comment here real quick. Myself, Kim, and Aaron have all looked it up, and none of us can find what the anything on a child's skull force.
Right.
An average adult human skull takes about 1,100 pounds of force to fracture the human skull.
Okay,
but we can't find anything on a child's skull, though.
But you figure you could almost cut that by at least a third.
I would say cut it like even more, like a half.
Maybe even half.
We're talking about green stick fracture type. We're talking soft skull here still, like really movable.
Well, yeah, because you figure this. Yeah, because those suture lines have not even completely fused yet.
Right. And we know from anatomy that a full-grown skull, is very, very strong. But is it as thick as some of the other bones in our body?
Not as thick as the femur.
You'd have to do
not as yeah.
So now I'm thinking, and I'm just like, just trying to wrap my brain around it. I have no real theory about it. But if that's the case, then if you take it into a green stick fracture state where it's pliable, now we're talking like he can't take anywhere near that kind of force to cause the damage. We're talking about a soft skull on a child, and I think a flashlight definitely. I'm leaning towards a flashlight could have done that damage. I do. I really do. Because it's a small child. She was a delicate looking child. You saw how tiny she was, right? Like you saw.
I'm kind of with Aaron though. I don't think with the way that impact was, because I was reading some other stuff. If that was done by a flashlight, especially like a mag, like they're thinking, you would have had an ending impression on it, because they're long. But the length shortens tremendously when you put your hand around it. So that, you would think there would have to be an ending point, and there was no ending point. So I'm thinking baseball bat, something a little longer.
All right, but either way, we know that it was the type of injury that somebody swung and hit her. Can we agree on that? That it was a swing and hit? Okay.
Right.
So here is why I stick to that it can't take that much pressure. Because we all know of documented cases with other children where they just fall and hit their head on a table and get the same kind of fracture and die. Okay. Wait. And we also know, in abuse cases where they are actually wrangling them up against a wall without a flashlight, and they get the same kind of fractures and die. It has to be hit a certain way, but it takes just as much force. So I'm thinking if you are actually coming down on a child with that kind of force, it was definitely possible. Yeah.
Well, and it's the displacement of the wound too that makes me suspect to it because if you look the way it does, there is a squared off strike point where there was heavy displacement of the skull, and then there's of course the line of fracture. That line of fracture wouldn't require that much force, but the displacement of it is where I find question because I think my question isn't as much could it be done, could it happen by that depth of displacement happen by accident? Because if you're doing it on purpose, you're going to do full extension of the arm and swing downward. If you're just hitting them, and I'm not saying playing, but if you're not aiming to do that damage, your arm is bent, your wrist is probably going to be a little bit weaker on the swing, and you're going to have less leverage because it's going to be closer to your body. So when you strike, you've got significantly less force, and you also have a lower angle, which means you have less force on the tip and more of it kind of spread probably about an inch down the shaft of it. That's where I have questions about somebody of a shorter height and a lesser strength being able to create that specific kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree on that.
Yeah. I can agree there with that because of where you're actually seeing the impact of the fracture from the autopsy report for be communal like that. I get what you're saying, Aaron. I do. Oh, I have a good question here, though. I'm kind of with Juju on this. Cord banking was voluntary starting about 20 years ago. Cord banking is taking umbilical cord blood and cells from newborns to start a database. Do either of you know if the DNA banks are using cord blood banking, volunteer cord blood banking for their DNA testing?
I have no idea myself.
I don't know. I know they're never.
I think they are. I'm not sure though.
But I know 25 years ago it was a volunteer process, and I'm I'm retired out of that whole thing now, so I don't really know where it was even just 10 years ago. It was still voluntary.
Yeah, they won't be making it mandatory anytime soon because even with soldiers who have to give their DNA, you cannot get access to that database except to verify a dead soldier's body, generally in a battle zone.
Yeah. Okay.
Happy Gadish had a interesting question there. Said, could it have been done trying to get her out of the window? I don't think they tried to get her out of the window personally.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
They could have entered or exited by it, but I don't think he ever came anywhere.
Yep. No. Okay. And welcome, Happy Gadish. No. All right. So, Juju says that she ran down the stairs and she hit her head on the and I'm telling you that happened to me too. That's why I'm like, listen.
I've done that, jumping up into a truck, bang my head so bad, knocked myself right out cold.
Yeah, I know.
Fell 8 feet and jammed my head on a rock, and I've got a scar there where the hair grows out blonde. So
yeah. I don't know. Oh,
Good night, Sandy.
Good night, Sandy. Thank you for hanging. It's been a long day, eh?
Night, Sandy.
So, and that's the thing too with kids' skulls. They're made to rebound up to a certain age, but once you get past the rebound point with the pressure, they kind of crumble. I mean, they don't. Once you get past the stretch point, they just completely give.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, Shay, that they only take the cord blood for stem cell research, but it does have DNA in it. I'm just wondering, like if it could go advance towards that. If while you're doing something good to save your stem cell research or to save it for future child illness and stuff that they do now, we bank it. If you just sign a little card that says you can use it for DNA testing for other, things to help, the greater good out there,
Yeah, but there's such an obsession with privacy, at least in this country.
Yeah.
I get it.
You want it here? I'll give it to you.
I know. That's how I am too. Like, Bear wears the rose-colored glasses all the time. I'm always looking at things the way I wish the world was, although I know how it actually is. I get it.
Yeah.
People get
so protective.
Now, here's a question.
People get...
No, go ahead, Kim, and I'll ask a question in just a second.
I was just saying people get so protective with their DNA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that's the one thing they don't want to let go of. They're protective of that.
I think if they knew how it could get collected in any old way, they'd give it up. Like,
I know.
like, you know,
Yeah.
like you're shedding your skin cells like all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, listen, don't be freaked out, people. Like, if they want your DNA, they're gonna have it.
They're going to get it.
Well,
So-
there's some
I
guys I know that freely
Yeah.
distribute their DNA. If you get my drift.
Exactly. I know. Stop. No, I was thinking more like, when you have sunburn and your skin peels and stuff, but okay, if you want to go that way.
Well, when
But,
you drink out of
yeah.
a beverage glass, you leave the
This
straw
is true.
behind. Every restaurant's full of samples.
Yeah,
But
and how
there's-
many times do we see that on Law and Order or on Criminal Minds, and they just get the paper cup and nail your ass from right? It's like, yeah. Well, anyway.
Juju asked, "Do you think they didn't intend the hit to be that bad, that detrimental, so they rerouted their whole plan for the evening?"
Yes.
No, 'cause
No,
I don't
well-
think so. I think they meant to kill her with that blow to the head
Yeah,
because they had already
Okay.
strangled her near to the point of death. I don't know if they couldn't deal with it or they just wanted to. It was
Mhm.
just part of what they did, but I think that was an intentional killing blow.
and it
Mhm.
could have been the strangulation just wasn't going fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, this is a question. Mocking's bringing this up, and it's kind of coincidental because the other day I had a conversation with an actual forensic psychologist for 2.5 hours, and after we left talking about Amber Heard, which was quite the conversation, I asked him about this murder case when we got in the back room, and we were back there for like 2 hours, and he did have this issue. And Mocking is saying, did they ever go deep into the competition beauty queen parents? It's a highly insane and competitive life. And I have to say that was the first thing that Luke, the psychologist, actually focused in on. He said, I know you don't want to think as a mother, Claire, that a mother could do that, but I'm telling you, in that situation, that's my first go-to because of how that woman was raised, how she feels it's competitive, how she has put her own self-worth on that competition, and now is grooming the child to be that way too, vicariously living through that child. If the father or anyone else paid any attention to that child over her, it could have caused some kind of psychological issue amongst the mother that you wouldn't know about until the break happened. And that startled me because I've always said there's no way I believe the mother could do that. And so the last conversation that we all had, I had also brought up the fact that, Patsy Ramsey suffered from cancer, and there's no way she wouldn't have, if she had anything to do with it, not confessed on her deathbed about it. And he looked me right straight and said, no way, that's not necessarily true because she may be in such denial about it. She may not even be aware of the break when it happened. She may have locked it away, or just because she goes into another part of her life with such trauma, doesn't mean she's going to reflect on the other trauma.
Well, there could also be a second party that she's still protecting.
True. And
Right.
that's what he brought up. What if it was the husband? What if he attacked her physically or got attracted to her and some untoward thing happened and then Patsy couldn't handle it and took it out on the child? And that is a scenario that unfortunately I watch too much television. I've seen too many times. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've read too many books and I investigate too much true crime. And so I have saw it. So I thought that was like you focused right there, Mocking. And I'm like, well, that's the first time anybody has said it. And it was just that Luke had said it too. And I was like, there goes like everything I was thinking. And it put Patsy and John back in the light for me until I read the articles about John pushing for the DNA. If John had attacked his own daughter, there's no way he'd want that DNA evidence tested again. Who would expose themselves that way to that humiliation?
Well, and like Claire, the way I read it also on Mocking's comment is maybe not even the Ramseys, but other
it
competitive
could be.
parents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there was. All right. So that brings the photographer up. Okay.
Right.
Now everybody kind of goes over the photographer, and I really want to know why. Like, what am I missing that clears him? They say he's cleared from DNA, but I don't see him cleared by alibi. I don't see him cleared by any other evidence. He had opportunity. He had familiarity. He's a documented sex offender. Okay,
Right.
and he obviously had issues. He came to do a photo shoot the week before. He met the child and everything, and he is in part of that whole, the pageant thing, and Mocking says competitor parents, like not her parents, competitor parents. Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So you mean, oh God, how wicked would
Yeah.
that be? Like, oh, we
Well,
gotta get
okay.
Wait, like I believe it. Like I'm competitive, but who's
Okay.
competitive enough to do that to a child?
Claire, can I give you some
Wow.
Claire, can I give you some inside information?
Yeah.
I was a pageant mom. My daughter competed, but she only competed as a teen. We only did a natural pageant, not the high glitz pageants that they competed in a lot. But a couple of our families that competed in the same system that we did actually did the America's Miss pageant, which was a big one that JonBenet was in. And they knew the Ramseys. They knew how competitive that mom was. That mom was cutthroat. I don't know if you remember. I can't even remember the movie now, but one girl was getting ready to go on her talent, and her costume had been ripped by another competitor.
Oh, you're
That's
talking
Patsy
about the
Ramsey.
grown-up. You're talking about the grown-ups that actually had the other girl killed, or the other parent.
That's the type of parent Patsy Ramsey was. She would have taken and destroyed another girl's dress.
Okay, but we're not talking about it. All right,
No,
let's be clear.
but
we are not talking about another girl's dress here. We're talking about we're talking about
but if you think about those types of parents in those high glitz pageants, I mean, these parents are paying out $5,000 to $10,000 a pageant, and they're doing pageants at least once a month. And their girls aren't winning, and little JonBenet is.
I get it.
Yeah.
All right. So
it is a cutthroat world.
Here we
there
go.
Are more psychopaths out there than you know, too.
There are.
There
look
are
at
tons
this.
of functional psychopaths.
Someone jealous.
Oh yeah.
Charlie says if you could put 7 pounds of makeup on a toddler, their sociopathic limits are high. It happened to the cheerleader mom. Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
And Mocking brings up, like the Tanya Harding thing. Maybe they paid somebody. So we're back to the electrician. We're back to the electrician. We're back to the electrician, a sex offender, and a woman. I kind of agree with them that way. I do think that would, so the housemaid's husband. Let's talk. What do we know about him really? Does he have tendencies? Could he have tendencies? Could he be the sex offender part of that trio?
The father?
I don't remember finding that much.
No. The maid's
the housekeeper's husband.
The housekeeper's husband, right?
Yeah, from what I remember with the housekeeper's husband, he wasn't really around much, and I don't even think he ever made it to their house, if I remember right. And from what I understand that he just did nothing to do with any of that stuff, and it's never. And from what I know, I could be completely wrong, and I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen anything that would suggest he had anything like that in his background at all.
Yeah, I haven't found anything either on him.
Because I can't see the housekeeper being involved without him. You know what I mean? Like for some reason, I keep thinking of them together. Like I'm pretty stuck on the electrician being part of it. And if it's going to be a woman.
If they were hired to kill, I can tell you this: they didn't know what they were doing. Because
they're amateurs for
choking,
sure.
Exactly.
When you go to choke somebody, your goal isn't to choke them until they die, or even choke them till they pass out. Especially if you're using a garrote, your goal is to The
Mhm.
colloquial terminology is to snap their
Okay.
windpipe. What you're really doing is you're snapping their hyoid bone, and they cannot, without immediate repair of that hyoid bone, something to bypass it, something like along those lines, you can't survive it. Your throat will not open back up. They did not manage to snap her hyoid bone. They could not.
No.
The way that they constructed the garrote, because it is a 1-point garrote with a loop through it, which is actually a really terrible design. They could not get enough force and operate it in a fashion that they could kill her. And that's why I think they struck her in the head was to finish her off, because she was dying
It
too
didn't work.
inefficiently, to put it
Yeah,
bluntly.
it didn't work, and then they were getting angst over it. Yep, I agree. Shay reminds us that the renters of the barns, which is the housekeeper and her husband, if I remember correctly, across
Glenn
the street.
Meyer.
Oh no! All right, so no, the Barnes is the housekeeper, right? Barnes is the housekeeper. Am I correct?
No, Pew is the housekeeper.
Yeah.
Okay,
Pew.
so the Barnes is the neighbors across the street, and
I believe
their
so.
renter was a sex offender. So then we have the housekeeper, or we have Mrs. Barnes and the sex offender and the electrician, or we have the housekeeper and the sex offender and the electrician.
And you have to remember, when you're dealing with sex offenders, always look up the type of sex offense, because they can broadly be, in my mind, categorized into adult sex offenders that have exposed themselves. Even some places, prostitution, if by prostitute is a sex offense. You've got ones who commit nonviolent acts on children. Those are the ones that you could see slip into violent acts on children. And then those who have committed violent acts, which are kind of more of who you're going to be looking at for this.
It's a
and
broad
a person
spectrum.
they can slip a category, but really for indicators, you need to nail down what they did specifically.
No, that's
and then
true.
even within the children, you've got the different ages and everything. You know, the very young, the prepubescent, and the teens.
Yep. And she says that she says hello. She's just there for tea. The phone's not working, but she thinks the brother did it. And that long ass letter was written by Patsy. Okay. I don't think that letter was written by Patsy. But and I kind of feel bad for Burke being blamed all the time. But I don't know. She said, after killing a child, your adrenaline won't let you write that long. Mom and Dad wanted to protect their living child. You mean that they were protecting Burke all along? Yeah. And Jujubi says, yeah, we got to be careful, because sometimes peeing in public can be considered a sex offense.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was actually going to comment on that, because a lot of times they have to see your genitals. In Arizona, it's weird. It has to be someone of the opposite sex that sees your genitals. So if you run up with your penis out at another man, you can't be charged with it. And I'm like, if somebody runs me with their penis out, I want to take out charges.
I mean, listen, you're running with your penis out. They like equality. It doesn't matter who sees it. Like, grandma, grandpa, the dog. I don't care. I don't care if the dog saw it. You'll still have exposed yourself. It's a crime. Come on. Like, well, not in my eyes is it a crime, because I'm a nudist, but still.
I mean, it depends on how they were grasping their penis then. There are ways that even a nudist could be sexually offended.
So,
I think it has something to do with how you shake it at somebody. I think that's what the whole thing is. It's just how you shake it. It ain't how you hold it or what you do with it. It's how you shake it at somebody.
Yeah, I looked up some more information on Glenn Meyer, getting back to the case.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I do that sometimes.
He was fully
It's okay. It happens.
It says he was fully cooperative with the police, and they said he couldn't have been any more cooperative. He took a polygraph test in the first week, handwriting samples, DNA samples, fingerprints, hair. He was investigated over the years by 3 different investigators, and by the early 2000s, he had been touted as no longer a suspect by anybody involved in the case. Said they 100% cleared him of it altogether. There's no way.
Okay. So Barnes. Okay, so he's all right.
Somebody made a comment about 2 people writing the note. That's one thing.
Yeah, I was just pulling it up. How do you guys feel about that? I kind of agree with it. Like the language.
I do too.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
it was dictated
it does seem
because
like it was two people.
if you
Yep.
notice at first, the first line is "listen up," which says to
Mhm.
me someone is talking to someone else while they're writing, and then the
Mhm.
lack of error when you're copying after somebody else. If you're writing on your own, you're more likely to make error just by screwing it up because you're thinking in the moment that you're writing. When
Mhm.
you're dictating it, you're writing what somebody else told you, just copying down. It makes it easier to do it without error. So I just get the feeling that it's been
Mhm.
dictated. One person said it, another person
Mhm.
reported.
I think so too. I think there's too
Yeah.
much there, and that theory there kind of for me takes care of all the little inflections in language and the swaying back and forth with how things were said, because it's really
Right.
not their own language that they're dealing with, right? It's somebody else's that they're copying down, and so those kind of mistakes can get made and those kind of things can happen. So I do also believe it was two people involved in writing it. One person writing it, the other person telling them what to say, and maybe even them adding some of their own stuff in there, like as they went, like because they could. Um, mm, uh, I do agree, Juju. What made Burke everybody look at him so often was his weird behavior because everybody was looking at
Hmm.
him so often. It was like a whirlwind. It was just like a mess because he's a young kid and he's under the pressure of everybody and getting questioned and being blamed and going through his sister died, his parents are all upset, his whole life is upside down, and they think he's involved in that had to be hard to deal with. And so he did get weird. We can all admit he was acting a little weird, and he probably looks a little weird now when he does stuff because he's got a lifelong of this on his shoulders. And I would think just being a little weird would be the least of it. You know what I mean? But doesn't make him complicit in a murder. I really don't think
Yeah, I
that
mean,
child.
he has to have PTSD from this also, and
Mhm,
that can, make you dissociate, and that's kind of what I see with him a
mhm,
lot.
mhm. Yep. Somebody's Googling. Thank you, Mocking. We pulled up the John Carr, this teacher, right? And is he the one that actually confessed a little? And then they said,
Yeah,
nah. Yeah.
the one from
He,
Thailand.
yeah,
Yes.
he actually confessed while he
Yeah.
was in Thailand to the whole thing, Mocking, and then he didn't have any of the actual details. He tried to like throw himself under the bus for it. He was
He wanted the
dirty.
fame.
Like
Hmm.
he did have child pornography. He got away with it, and then he did have domestic violence. I get it. It was a hot mess, and he wanted to go to jail for this. But believe me, as much as they wanted someone to go to jail for it, there obviously was nothing there, or he would be in jail for it because they wanted somebody. They
Was it
definitely
Thai
wanted
police?
this clue.
Yeah.
It
Was it
wasn't. Either Thailand or the Philippines. He was over there.
Arrested in Thailand where he'd been
Hmm.
living on the lam after
Mhm.
facing child porn
Mhm.
charges in the U.S.
well,
Mm-hmm.
my question was he arrested by the Thai police for an offense in Thailand, or was he arrested based on an extradition order?
It doesn't say. Not that I've seen.
He doesn't say,
Because
but
it's like
he was over there for bad reasons.
Well,
Like
he was over there
yeah,
because he fled from the U.S.
no, but
okay.
Right.
he chose there because never mind. Okay.
If he
No, I
served
understand what you're
if he
saying,
was gonna
Claire.
serve
Yeah, yeah.
time in Thailand, then it would be which evidently from what you say, there would be at least a possibility of extradition to the US depending on the decision they
Mhm.
made. But if he
Which is
thought he
why
had
he
a chance of
confessed.
serving in
Right.
Thailand, he would
Exactly.
confess to get pulled back to the States on such a high profile case. They're gonna negotiate to get him
I
home.
agree. I agree with you, Aaron. I think that's exactly what he did. So he did not end up dying over there. I agree with you
Mhm.
100%. That's what happened because he was in that country for a nefarious reason. They've got a big market there on children and
Yep.
Hmm.
young, like in sex trafficking, and everybody knows about it. If you got a kink, you can go there, you can find it, and it's free. Okay,
Right.
period. Okay, so and I'm not trying to disparage a whole country or anything, but that's true all about that. And that's why he was there. He got caught doing something he shouldn't have done. He was going to face some huge charges. And I agree with
Hmm.
Aaron that he just used the American system to get his ass out of there. This was the biggest case at the time, and there was nothing because if there was even one scrap of evidence that could put him anywhere near that child, he'd be in jail. because they
Oh, yeah.
wanted somebody. They needed the clothes. They looked like idiots. If they had a golden goose like that saying they did it and they had one little thing they could count on, he would be locked up. But
Yeah, it's also high
yep.
gamble though, because if they push
Mhm.
it too far in the media and
Mhm.
it fails
Mhm.
out, but
Mhm.
he doesn't care about that. He's gonna try.
Yeah. Well, he got
Right.
what he wanted. He got back over here, and they can't get him back over. Like the Philippines ain't gonna get him to go back over there. He just can't go over there again. They'll lock him up, but they ain't gonna pull him out of here for it. You know,
No.
it just don't work like that. You know, they don't put the money into it. They just get you when you come back. But yeah, but no, good research. Google is it's good.
Google Foo is strong with that one.
The Google, I'll tell you, like I do it all the
Right.
time. It's like, Juju, back to the letter. Juju B adds that I think they wrote it before they went. The movie quotes, the caring language is very motherly. I stand by my 2 people and 1 was a woman. Oh, you're going to, okay. So she's going to actually add that 1 is the woman. So now is that the same woman that's involved in the kidnapping thing, not just the letter, right? So we got a woman. We have electrician. That's me. And we have someone who committed a sex offense on a child. This I still see 3 no matter what. Especially if I add the letter in. There are 2 people involved in the letter. I don't think the electrician had anything to do with writing the letter. I'll say that, which makes it a woman. And
the main thing you have to contend with is the addition of people to the house creates a risk of additional noise to wake people up. But yeah, it could very well, maybe that's why it was written with so few errors. They could be copying it over within the house because they're saying, well, our pen, our paper, it could lead back to us, so we're going to use their pen, their paper.
If we take
Right.
Mawking's direction and go with a competitive parent, and we take what Juju's saying about adding a woman in and 2 people on the list, and then we take mine with the electrician, okay? It looks like they got together, they hired someone to kidnap this child, and things got a little crazy. And because what you're saying actually resonates with me. They would want to, if it's a competitor mother, okay, she would want to implicate the Ramseys. Absolutely. She would want that child out and the parents punished, right?
Exactly.
She would. Okay.
Right.
And so that kind of fits. So then we just have to figure out the third person that's involved there, because we're gonna have one of those competition moms, definitely. Probably one of the top 3 competitors against JonBenet. Remember, JonBenet was like top of her class too. She was like number 1 in almost everything, wasn't she? At the time, she's a beautiful girl. Yeah, was she getting there?
She was state. She never, I think, titled very highly at nationals. I don't think she ever titled very high at nationals, but she always titled high at state.
Yep. Oh, I'm with you, Mocking. Carr is definitely an odd. Like, yeah, he looks so guilty. If you look at just all the stuff he's in, you're like, yeah, sure, he's got to be like, let's just make it on him. He changed into a woman, was involved in cults with teens.
That's right, he did.
He did.
I forgot about that.
But he wasn't a woman at the time, so he couldn't have wrote the letter. So we're like, okay. Why was the electrician in the house so recent? I guess there was some work that was done. I think it was like a couple of weeks before, Jay, the electrician?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget, it was around the holidays. He could have been there just amping up the electricity for all the Christmas lights or something. Or maybe there was a fuse. I don't know. Anything like that. Maybe just even some people use electric, people like that to hang the outside Christmas lights. Who knows?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe they were doing some stuff like that.
Maybe there was a special display or something. Remember all the Christmas parties they were having and all the decorating that was being done? Like I don't know. All I know is that within the month before, he was there. He had exposure to the family, the house. He knew how to, he was also familiar enough that if he was there for a party or anything like that. Because remember, the Ramseys invited their friends, their families, their people that work for them. Like, it wouldn't be unusual for them to invite the family electrician to come if he had family or children or anything like that, to say, hey, I'm having a holiday party. Like, come on.
Right.
They used it as a huge social event. They used it as connection with businesses and everybody around town in the neighborhood. They used it to expand their connections throughout, Who knows? John probably invited everybody that worked for him just so he can get a discount on the next time he needed services. Who knows? It goes like that. You don't know.
I can see that.
Yeah, right. You're just friendly with everybody. Like, I could see that he could have even been at that party. I wish we had those lists. See, these are the things that I wish we had.
I know.
Or, they won't disclose any of this because it's still an active investigation. So all of those people would be considered still people that they might want to talk to, and then they might have to keep their names private. But I would want to see every single person's name that was at those Christmas parties, every single one. And
now, I would be interested in to see the evidence that they've kept secret, because they have information there that they've kept secret close to the vest. So when they do find somebody, they've got that only this person's going to know type of thing.
Have they said anything like that, or is that just like one of our
No, that's usually they'll release some information, but they'll keep stuff close to the vest. So they can't get looky-loos like Carr and that would pulls this, and then they go, well, what about this? And they're like, well, blah blah blah. Well, no, because see, that's not correct because it's actually this. So no, you didn't do it, type of thing.
Yes, and first of all, happy Guildfish. We know that the electrician committed suicide. We know that he's gone. It's what he was found with that makes him a suspect in my eyes, and very complicit. The hat with the initials on it, a taser, shoes that fit the footprints were identified on there, and then there was something else. Did he have a flashlight? Did he have a flashlight?
No, his flashlight was his prized possession was missing.
Yes,
That's it.
It was missing.
So I knew the flashlight was in there. The flashlight is in there because he had one and it was missing, which means if it was used in the murder, they would have got rid of it, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's murder 101, right? Jay taught me that. Get rid of the murder weapon. Get rid of it.
Don't keep any souvenirs.
Yeah, well, okay. So anyway, that's why
that's murder 101.
Yeah, okay. And then Juju says that the electrician is not coming to her party. I don't blame you. Okay, and Christola wants to know if the breaker box was in the basement. Does anybody recall? Because I know John said he had broke the window, but what if he went down and saw it as a way in and out? You mean the electrician? Yeah,
it would have to be in a very specific location. I'm trying to find out how he would have gotten access to the house. I'm not finding anything. I know that they had stuff in the basement because the landscaper did a sprinkler repair, which was in the basement, so the breakers are most likely there as well. But
wasn't there a
broken window isn't isolated.
There was a suitcase near there to get up towards the height of the window, and there was also a smudge on the wall, was there not?
Yeah.
Jay, that meant it could have been a foot, a knee, something. There was climbing towards the window. That to me infers that somebody was trying to do something with that window, or out. I mean, there's enough there. Like, I think it's more out to get out of the house than in. The way that the suitcase was, the way that the mark was on the wall, to me, that looks like going out instead of in. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. There were footprints out there, yes.
Yep.
There were footprints out there, right? So, but I don't know if the breaker box was down there, Christola. But I would tell you that most breaker boxes at that time were probably in the basement. If you had a basement, that would be almost standard. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee, but I would say more than likely they were all in the basement. Right. So, well, guys, this was an hour and a half already. Yes, the boot smudge, Giddish, on the wall. It's like, I don't know if it was a boot. I didn't see any impression of a shoe, like when we saw it. But the evidence isn't really that clear for us. It's just pictures of stuff. But to me, it looked more like a wall smudge. What do you think, Jay? and Aaron and Kim.
To me, it looks like somebody was trying to climb out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you're not used to climbing, especially when you get above about mid stomach, you're gonna have to either have some upper body strength or you're gonna have to push off. So I have a feeling, especially in an area that small, squirming through, that it was somebody brushing against it. The only thing that concerns me is, unless, which I know there was some debris on that basement floor, not a ton, is why wasn't whatever made that smudge left elsewhere?
This is true. I can go with half of that mocking. I could. Maybe it was a true kidnapping for ransom. I do believe it could start that way, even if it was a competitor mom, because of bragging about John's bonus, the exact amount of 118. Kim has a real valid point there. What if she was just bragging about how great it was that he got this great bonus, and that was the last straw for a competitor mom, and they wanted to have a nicer Christmas, right? So they all three go over there. They get the girl. They leave the note on the steps. The competitor mom and one other write the letter. Maybe she was choked at first, passed her out. This could be because there is evidence that the garrote was in the child's bedroom. So we have that evidence that it was there. It either got there after or it was there prior, which means that maybe the choking first happened in the bedroom, which would lead more towards a kidnapping, I think, than the other. And then when she passed out, they went to get her out of the window, and then they couldn't, or something, or she woke up, or she fought, or whatever. The other part happened and blunt force happened. I just don't see with the three of them how the other scenario took place, unless she was already tied up and, they were waiting because it's supposed to be ransom, and say the woman left because she's going to put the note on the stairs and she's getting out of the house. And then the two other ones are told to wait there with the child while the whole thing, goes with the phone calls and everything, and to get the money. And then one of them assaults the child and the other one can't handle it, and that's how everything starts to go bad. But I don't know. I agree. It does look like a kidnapping at first. It just doesn't end that way.
I don't know. It's the garrote. Unless they made the garrote as soon as they came in, which if they're going to do that, I don't know why they wouldn't have done it earlier. Built it outside and brought it in. Then it would have had to been built after they grabbed her. So
the garrote
rope fibers would be from binding her, and then they would get into the basement, and that's when they built the garrote. Unless, like I said, they built it on the way in.
Yeah, the garrote itself, all the materials for it are right from the basement over there by the paint caddy. Everything's there. Everything that they use came from that. Well, that's what I didn't understand about how the fibers were upstairs on the child's bed. Like, when we read the report.
Yeah. Was the rope from inside?
I believe everything that was used on the child was from the basement area, was it not, Jay? Did they not, doesn't the report indicate even the duct tape? But the duct tape had animal hair on it.
Yeah. The beaver hair?
Yeah, it had beaver hair on it. And so did her hands. But the hair on her hands was not indicated to be beaver type. But the duct tape had beaver type hair, which I didn't understand either. But then upstairs in the bedroom, that's where the fibers from the garrote are found, and I don't understand that at all. Like, how did that? If everything you need to make it is in the basement, okay, and then how? That means somebody went upstairs after, maybe. Looking for something, placing something. I don't know. Because everything they needed to make it, why would they go with the garrote unless they brought then the garrote upstairs? They made it, they broke in, they would have to come in from that window then, right?
So they would basically be walking in with the only thing we know of for sure, maybe bat, but a stun gun. So they're showing up to kidnap the kid with nothing
But a
but a
stun
stun
gun and a
gun.
flashlight, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't add up.
Yeah, but you see,
Give that
but that,
to
No.
me.
but that kind of goes to ransom and kidnapping, because the garrote would have been something to really injure the child, and that wasn't the intent under ransom, was it? To bind the child, yes, so she doesn't get away, but for a garrote, you don't need a garrote to bind the child. She's small.
Yeah.
You just need some duct tape in a chair. You don't, you know what I mean? You don't need all the rest. So that's why I think it went bad after. That's what I'm trying to figure. Like, if it was ransom to begin with, then that kind of fits that everything else they needed to actually cause the death of the child was all in the house already.
It doesn't feel
Anything.
like ransom at all to me. It feels
No.
like it was thoughtless
No.
entry. And they went up there, and as they're coming in, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna need this. We're gonna need that."
Mhm.
And then I think the use of the ropes was very intentional, not just the garrote, but around the wrist, because you can tie wrists with duct tape just as well as you can
Mhm.
gag a mouth.
Right.
Mhm.
So I think it was
Yep.
very, if maybe not, it might be ritualistic, except that we haven't seen other cases like this, or at least we haven't heard
Mhm.
about them. But I
Mhm.
think they were working out a process as they went, and they
You
were
think
executing very specifically up until she did not die, and then
then that,
her
all right, then that would have to be because of the ransom notes and everything. There's only two scenarios that then are possible. That it's somebody that absolutely knows the family really, really well, okay, acting on their own with a serious problem, and the child was the victim of it, and then all the rest was covering, and indicating the family, because they knew enough details to do it, and
Yeah.
and or same scenario, somebody that had access to the child, that hurt the child terribly. They found out about it before reporting the body, and they did the cover up themselves as a family. Patsy and John did the cover up, but not the murder. And because there's all the details about the 118,000, and there's all the money, and it is the materials from their own bedroom that is used for the note. Maybe just like the fact that it happened, they just covered it up. Maybe because they thought they knew who it was, or they had
Well,
suspicion who it was. I don't know. I don't
they
understand why they would try to cover it up.
they
But
also hired in private investigators. They could have placed a higher confidence in their hired private investigators than they did in the police. And
uh-huh.
as such, they tried to do PR and prevent exposure by keeping it as a kind of quote unquote internal criminal investigation where
Right.
they were seeing this through and they were keeping the police out. And when it failed, that's when they started drawing the police in. So they may
Mhm.
not have knew who did it, and they may have, or they may have had an idea and it fell through, but they decided that they knew better and that they were going to pick who's going to investigate.
Well, do you think it could have been? Yeah, but do you think that if you just found out that your child was just brutally assaulted and murdered, you would have the mindset to say, "Oh, I'm going to cover it all up and get a private investigator because I don't trust the police"? Like all within 12 hours. I don't think that could happen. That thought process
Yeah,
that quick. You do?
if
Yeah. Yeah.
given that he scheduled a plane flight, he was broadly collected during it. Yeah, he there's a few things to indicate that he was distressed, but also just that when you are that rich and that business is tied that close to your family, you operate within that business and it is core to you to protect that business. And then that doesn't even factor in like the fact that they sort of
Mhm.
treated this child like a possession, because even if you look at
Yep.
some of the testimony, she was
Mhm.
graded out. She was a pageant child, a vicarious subject for the stuff her mom engaged in, whereas the son
Mhm.
seems to have been a little more pampered in the way he acted in the accounts. So he was kind of
Mhm.
just an accessory and he was their kid. So, which that's, I'm not laying that against him
Yeah.
as a suspect in this case, but I'm saying that
Mhm.
I don't think they were as distraught over this poor girl as they should have been.
Yeah. No. I sometimes I absolutely agree with it about the distraught part. Ashley, welcome. We are almost finished up. You're welcome to catch the replay for all of the details. We will be discussing it again. In the Murder Minions Discord. If you have Discord and want to send me an ID so you can join for that discussion and going over the facts. But below in the description is all of the details that we use as far as the evidence that we found in the JonBenet organization website. In what is it, SearchGirl information, and a couple of other articles. In the chat itself, we listed a new article on regards to Chris Wolf suing the family, and also that there was a Reddit for JonBenet. That was the new stuff, but that's what you missed. I brought you up to date. Well, we are going to be closing up in a few minutes, and we're just tossing theories around. So there you go. So if anybody doesn't have anything else, do any of you have anything else you'd like to add to the discussion? And then we're gonna. I don't think by the next time that we meet that we're going to know. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to know.
Go on
I don't
forever.
know. It was. I think at the next one we're going to have to put a limit on like how far we're going to go with this, because now we're out of April, we're into May, right, Jay?
Yeah.
So like I would like to get everybody's thoughts on about the Discord meeting, and we can all talk about that in the Discord if you like. But again, I'd like to remind everyone in the chat that part of the Discord is open to murder minions. You just need a Discord ID to contact Jay or I. With your ID, we'll send you ours. Your friend does. I'll get you an invite over there and get you in there. So we have a voice chat in there, as well as a typing chat at the same time where you can hear, and we could do the same kind of discussion one more time to try to put close to this as best as we can. In the meantime, anybody has any other information that they want to share, the Discord also has rooms to chat in and drop, videos and links and things like that, that you'd like. Oh, we're getting botted. Look at it. Oh, we're getting boy botted for a change. Isn't that lovely?
Wow.
Hey, I haven't seen a boy bot in a while. Yeah, okay. There we go. Well, at least they're not particular. Good job.
Juju wants us to get to the toolbox killers.
Okay, that'll be Nate. Let's finish this up. Let's have one more discussion. What do you think? Jay, you're up next, right? What time? What are we doing with you?
Let's see. Wednesday, I've got Cults and Conspiracies where we're talking the Rendlesham Forest incident.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what's going on with Six Pack this week. I haven't heard, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm thinking for the next show, let me look at my schedule real quick for over on True Serial.
I will let you know that those that voted on the back of my channel said that they would like the Murder Minions discussion to be on a weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, sometime between 1 p.m. and 10 p.m. because it was like split between the 1 to 7 and the 7 to 10. So
I can do the Murder Minions discussion Saturday.
On a Saturday, okay.
This Saturday coming up, if we want to do it then. Anytime after 6 is fine with me.
Okay. All right.
And then I'm thinking Sunday at 8 p.m. For True Serial. I could probably do that.
Okay, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock on Sunday.
Okay, I can. That works as long as we're done and dusted by 9. I gotta show at 9.
Oh yeah, that's right.
No, but that's fine. Like Kim, are you okay with moving ours to 9:30? I think that would be all right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. However, we move. I will give you the 30 minutes, Jay, because I know your schedule's tight, and I'm a little more flexible as long as Kim is. We can do that.
So we can start Toolbox on Sunday.
Okay, so Toolbox will be Sunday, and we will schedule the Murder Minions Discord discussion for the final discussion on JonBenet. Will be on Saturday.
This Saturday,
at 6 o'clock. Everybody.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be in the Discord. Eastern Standard.
Eastern Standard 6. Do you need later, Aaron? Are you busy on Saturday? I'll make it a little bit later if you need. We have more time.
Later's worse because I'm on the shills that day.
Okay. What time is chills? Is 7? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably attend for part of it.
Okay.
I won't be there the whole time and just chime in a little bit and go from there.
All right. Well, that's good.
So Discord Saturday at 6. True Serial at 8. We'll start the toolbox, and then I'm good for whatever time Monday. I got Monday off. That next Monday off. So
well, then I'm going back to 7 o'clock. I like
7
my
o'clock
7 o'clock.
on that Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I only move that when
I got to work. Yep.
When you have to work, and then I'm only going between 7 and 10, or I kick you out and just do it myself. There you go. There you go. So we are going to do an update because Lazy Bear has not got her Morphew video out. Nope, she didn't, because she's been doing other shit. So we're going to do an update on that day. I got a whole bunch of stuff I'm supposed to do videos on that I'm just going to do an update on there.
That works for me.
Get it over with.
And then we can just and then we'll continue toolbox on the next True Serial show.
Right. You said Sunday. We're doing it Sunday.
Well, yeah, but it's going to take more than one episode.
Oh, so 2. Okay, link me, boo, and you know, and we'll get some information for them. So if everybody is doesn't, you know, if everybody's good, I think we'll just end out. Thank you so much, Aaron and Kim, for joining us. This was fun.
Yep,
thank you everybody in the chat who participated, and to give us some more information and to just bounce it around, because that's what makes it more interesting for us. Thank you for your attention and you know, giving it the details. And Juju and Shay, like, I thought you solved this. You guys were making money in the beginning off of this, like right away. You need to give me names. You need to give me names. Like, I need to know, like, help me go to bed, help me go to sleep with this. But I understand it's just, no matter how we look at it, you know, it's just there's just too much. There's just too much and not enough at the same time. Does that make any sense? I know that sounds odd, but it's just too much to look at and then not enough. Everything you look at just is missing a piece. Like you just can't put it together. But
yeah, there's a fist that's been put through the puzzle. So who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Aaron, you have a channel that I can list down in the description for the end of the day?
I haven't really produced many videos lately. I've got one under Media Macabre, but mostly I'm on Weekend Horror about every other Wednesday, and then the Shills Thursday through Sunday, and this Thursday will be the Madness with Starsky.
Oh, that's, you know what? I absolutely love those. It's not madness. It's absolutely so informative. I love those.
It is madness for me because I produce. So.
I know what you're doing. I have to give you like big props. You're doing an absolutely fantastic job with that. It's not easy to organize. You know, if you guys know the shows, it's not easy to organize a show. Not in 1s, 2s, 3s, or even dozens. It's not easy. You're doing a great job. And it's a very serious topic. You know, he's on the ground there, you know, fighting in Ukraine, and it's a bird's eye view of everything that's going on over there, and he's very open to discussing it. And I'm happy when I can get there, even if I get there late, just to hear even part of it, you know. No, I think it's important, and you're doing a great job, Aaron. You really are.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, Jay, we'll see you Wednesday. Kim, I know I'm going to see you Sunday and every other day.
I'll see you.
I'll see you every day in
I'll
between.
see you Tuesday. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes. Okay, so I shield everybody else. You know who I don't shield?
Yourself.
The damn bear. Never share the damn bear. I never show the damn bear. Okay, listen. Tomorrow we have something really I've been looking forward to. Not only am I still doing the Depp Heard trial over at Auditing the Absurd with Ranty, which I love, which is why I'm talking so weird, because I'm so damn tired, because it's 9 hours a day. I'm knackered. I am.
She's
and then
knackered.
I do this. I'm knackered. That's it. Bear's knackered. But I have something exciting tomorrow night. We're going to do Men Against Fire with Jack of Hearts, who I did do White Bear with prior. And he really loves Charlie Brooker also. This is a Black Mirror episode. Everyone kind of knows that's our vanity project. If you saw us last night, there's no doubt about it that Kim and I are bonkers for Brooker. Okay.
We are
obsessed, but there happens to be quite a few gentlemen out there on this planet that are also bonkers for Brooker, because he's brilliant.
Brooker.
He is brilliant. Okay. And the Black Mirror series is just aged really well, especially with everything that's going on in the world in general, in technology and society. Men Against Fire is a very strong episode in my opinion, and I think Jack's going to bring a lot to it, and we're having a threesome. Jack's going to take both Kim and I on, and he's the guy to do it. Jack can do it, right? Jack can handle it. Jack can handle
it. I know.
So, yeah.
I know. Yeah, I can't wait to hear his take on this one.
Yes, the bear will be with the threesome at 7 p.m. on tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time. That'll be after the show with Ranty, and no nap tomorrow either.
No nap.
That's okay.
No nap for me either.
I could take it though. I could take it because it's worth it. Because you guys make it fun. So thank you all for participating. Because you do make it worth, losing a little bit of sleep. Everybody knows I don't sleep anyway, so I don't know what I'm bitching about.
I know.
You
never sleep there.
Something with the insomnia.
Yeah, I should actually go talk to the psychologist, right? My psychologist friend. We should have a.
Can I join you on that one? Because I'm not sleeping either.
I'll have to see if he's got any plans that we'd like. But
see if he's got any openings.
Wait a minute. Jim Smith, great show. One question. Are you familiar with Justine Gross elevator death at Penn State? Thank you.
No, I just looked it up.
I am not, but Joe, Jay takes notes. I'll write the name down. We'll see.
I do remember hearing about it. But I don't have any specifics on it. But I do remember hearing about it. I just can't pull up the specifics right now.
I'd like to thank my mods. Thank you, Mrs. Cassandra. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for Aaron. Is blue in there too. And Charlie, if you're still here, thank you for hanging out. I know you had to work, so you are probably not there anymore. But thank you, everybody. And this was a long one. What we're going on. And
what am I, chopped liver?
No. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I didn't see you in there yet. I didn't see you blue yet. There she is. So thank you, Kim. I'm sorry. Yes.
That's okay, Claire.
Chopped liver's about too. That's what I'm going to call you now. Of course you're chopped liver. No.
I'm going to change my name tomorrow.
Don't you? Listen, I'm tired. Don't beat up on the bear. Like, I can't take it.
I'm sorry, bear.
Needs to hibernate.
No, I don't want to. If I take a week off, it'll turn into a year. See you guys. I'm telling you that right now. Jim Smith, I just wanted to let you know, thank you for the name. All of Jay and I both have open DMs, and our contact information is in the description for our Twitters, and also on the back of my channel, you can find my Instagram, my email, all that stuff. Like anytime you have anything you want us to look, and that goes for everybody in the chat. All of you out there on YouTube checking us out later, same deal. Or if there's something you want us to look at or check into, right, Jay? We're into it. We've been doing. We never would have found Catherine if it wasn't for somebody dropping that name on me, and that was lit. That was fun. All right, bye everybody. Thank you, Aaron and Kim again. Miss Chopped Liver, thank you.
Thank you.
And everybody, take care of yourself. Take care of your family.
And thank you, Aaron. Thank you very much for hanging out so long too. Bye, Jay.
Night,
Bye, everybody.
Aaron.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Jay.